Welcome to CoinBook. My name is Calvin Waite, and I'm a professional crypto trader. Well, how is everyone doing? Bitcoin today looks pretty awesome. I know everyone's there's been a little discomfort because we're in the we're having a little bit of a red day. But in my mind, how can you possibly complain about this situation? We definitely, after the largest candle in Bitcoin history, it would be weird if we didn't have some kind of a red day. To have a complete doji at the top of this was pretty pretty bullish in my mind, because if this is unsustained, it's going to crash really fast, and if it keeps going, we can get kind of toppy really quickly. So we are watching our two supports. So with today being a little bit of a down day, I really thought we were going to hit 50 within the 24 hours. I mentioned that on yesterday's video, but we lost the structure that happened during in the 5-minute chart, which that's pretty typical. We're not gonna the chart formations don't pan out on lower time frames as well as they do on larger. That's why we keep it on the daily. But even so, this looks really bullish. Everything looks really nice. We have a nice support coming up here, because with this giant move through the support, we stand on the right side of two really strong supports. This level will be very strong as long as we give it enough time. If we immediately rush back and test it, it won't be so great. But with the strength of this candle pushing us through our log scale line here, I bet we will bounce off of this line. That's just the momentum that is happening in Bitcoin right now. So everything's looking well. We are definitely in the green zone. It's kind of amazing to see how long our green zone has lasted, though. We are now 106 days in our green zone. It's one of the longer green zones in history for Bitcoin. So there will be a cooling off period at some point in the future, but the chart doesn't show signs of that happening yet. Okay, so this is the total market cap for all crypto, all the altcoins in Bitcoin terms. And look at this. We got an incredible, perfect landing on this line. Yesterday we were showing a little green, but ended up closing the day very strongly. Normally, if you are below 50% of the bar, you are looking for another day of downside. So this would have been a kind of a risky situation. Well, today alts are just exploding. This makes you really excited. To have the price above this line, I can't even tell you what good news this is. If we close above this line right here, that means there was no resistance here. That also means that our next resistance is here, which means altcoin season is still going. And when we get up to this point, there's a very high chance that we will have a continuation. And where would our top likely be? It'll be right up here at about 13.6 million Bitcoin as a market cap. From 11, that's still a solid 20% upside on the total market cap for altcoins. That represents a lot of money. And somebody really awesome private messaged me on Twitter and told me to look at the head and shoulders forming on the Bitcoin dominance chart. And my chart's a little messy. I don't know what's wrong with my version. I've got kind of some weird bars that I'm not sure what the glitch is, but anyway, you can kind of see how there's a shoulder here, an obvious head, and then another shoulder could be forming, but it seems like a little bit of a stretch on my chart, but there might be something to this. So we'll have to kind of watch this. even if it isn't a perfect formation of a head and shoulders, the sentiment involved in breaking below these lines right here, like if we break down below this, there will be an obvious move in sentiment that would track what the typical breakdown of a head and shoulders would be. So if this was a classical head and shoulders, our distance of 62% all the way up to like 72 means that there's an additional 10% downside. If Bitcoin loses 10% dominance, oh my goodness. Can you even imagine what the altcoin market will look like? This could realistically happen if Ethereum breaks out of its kind of funk that it's in. If we get it back above the 200-week moving average on Ethereum, I could completely see this realistically playing out. So Altseason is still going. I've limited some of my exposure, but I'm still 60% of my positions are still long. And oh man, it's a good looking market right now for alts at least. Behold my crypto portfolio in 2017. Now 2021. Okay, let's take a look at some of the top altcoins for today. So Ethereum, we've been watching very carefully to see, will there be an exit point up here? If this exits, we will fall. So there is, like I say, just yesterday, how I was saying, this is how I would trade this if I was had a decent position in Ethereum. I hold some, but I don't hold a giant amount. But I would exit in the middle here on the way up where there's liquidity, and then see if it plays out. If we get above the 200, then we'd get back in and ride the rest of the wave. But if we only hit about halfway, there is a significant downside for sure. The as far as chart structure goes, though, we did exit the red zone, and our 100 is about to cross the 200 in probably a week or two. If this happens and we stay above the 50, this is green zone. So we may be entering green zone on Ethereum, which that's always bullish. Anything in the green zone is awesome as long as we can stay there. So we just need to stay above the 50 for a couple of weeks, and we'll be in the green zone, and we will see how it plays out. But yeah, Ethereum could really drive the rest of the market for the next 6 months or whatever, but we would have to do some pretty amazing work because we lost this low here and the structure's falling apart a bit on us. So conservatively, I'd be exiting around here and then get back in if we regain our structure. Anyway, so Cardano has kind of blown my mind this morning. It's really uncomfortable. Like these markets where you've got a giant gap between support and resistance. I mean, one way to read that is that there's so much enthusiasm that it's on this bull market. But the other way to read it is our charts getting really toppy. And these things can come right down quite quickly once the enthusiasm dies down. So if we look at the weekly, you can see where we are. Like we are now, our price now is above the resistance point that we established coming up on 2 years ago. So this is major moves in Cardano. Like we're getting back to our hype cycle. Do you see this point right here? I'll try to zoom in a little bit on it. This is significant resistance. And guess what? We're on it right now. 1900 is a tough place to cross. This is sort of that Ethereum trade where you're smart to take it at the resistance and see if it can break before you go back in. But if you were down, if you entered back in the 800, 900 area, I'd be looking to make sure that your position size makes sense. I did actually take a little profits this morning. because we had doubled from where I had entered down in here. And so it's questionable how much more upside we'll see. It just needs another leg down to establish support. If we came back down and found support at about 1,500 satoshis after hanging out here for a few weeks, I'd feel a lot more confident about how we're going. But yeah, we haven't taken a break since 1,100, and that's a pretty big move for Cardano. So I hope that helps give you a little bit of my opinion, at least, on what it is. The rest of these, like, there have just been some really nice ones. Ethereum Classic has finally has exited the red zone again. This is really good. I'm very, very excited about the structure of Ethereum Classic. If we could just stay above the 50 for a couple of days, it would definitely sell investors that are tracking and watching it that we are ready for our first leg up after a long down leg. So that one looks really nice. Raven Coin is interesting. So tell me what you think about my take on Raven Coin. So a Raven Coin has absolutely been killed. Our low is 37 satoshis. Like, this is our all-time low right down here. Oh, I guess we got a 36 on the board here. Yeah, this is low. Nope, 37. So where did we begin? We have been through some wild hype cycles. Our normal range was around 300 when we started, hyped up to almost 1,000, back down to our 300 range, launched up to 1,600, and then had a rough landing back to 300 and stayed there for a very, very long time. And now we've had this really long, slow, painful sell-off, and it has lasted a full year. We have had a year of downside on Raven Coin. And you know what I think this is? See this really long candle wick and then a flat period? This is all of the weak cans that, well, I couldn't call them weak because they've held for a long time. But the second Raven Coin had any good news, they were ready to bail. So there's a lot of emotion right here. Even though the structure is bullish, normally you would say, oh, look at this horrible downward pressure. This is pushing down the price of Raven Coin. And this is bearish. I don't think so. I think there's a ton of excitement, lots of enthusiasm. It finally reaches enough people like, hey, whoa, we're actually moving. And then people are like, oh, finally, now I can unload my Raven Coin. So you could tell that there are some old investors that are just like dying to get out. Well, this is only going to happen a couple of times. And then because we've shown strength, even after these types of candles, the weakest holders of Raven Coin that finally notice that it's moving, they are going to sell out quickly. And this is another day of that. But our candle bodies are telling a different story. I really seriously see some solid upside. And I think that some of these early sellers might capitulate. So I actually think Raven, even with these really ugly candles that have this resistance, just because of the structure and the time that we've taken in on this huge downside, this is still fear. Even though we are definitely, it's almost like denial. This is the denial stage, but we're marching through it. It's going to be really neat to see this play out because I see upside in Raven Coin. So anyway, you'll have to tell me what you think about my analysis on that. But yeah, so a lot of these other ones, we're starting to wake up some of these older coins. They've been marching up. They've been improving their structure. Things are looking good. I noticed Lisk has had a pretty awesome day. This could be the beginning of a good start. You know, this is what I'm hoping Ethereum Classic will do. We finally had an attempt to get out of the red zone after a long downside, and you know, it was the first try, and then we try again, and now we're starting to get some momentum. I would love to see that on Ethereum Classic. The only other coin I really wanted to point out today um, was Validity. This is an old coin. This is a really old coin. They've done a rebranding, and I don't even remember what their prior name was. Like, it slips me. But you can see how it was just really old, like 2016 old. This coin has been around forever, and it has had a brutal downside, and it has gone for a long, 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 long time. Well, where's our resistance at? It's right at around 6,600 Satoshis, right in here. And where's our next level? It's like 16 to 18. There is a triple from this level. And this is on the broad scale. So some of these coins that have a long, painful history, they have absolutely made it to price discovery. Like, people know what the normal range is for these coins, and when they start moving, they can get some traction pretty quickly. So when I go back to the daily, we entered at the exit of the red zone. You would have either entered here, or you would have entered here. You wouldn't enter twice because it's the same price practically. But very, very interesting structure where we exit and we get a lot of enthusiasm. It didn't last, but now we're trying again. And you only have to try again so many times before you've started gaining the trust of investors. What I like about this is there's a very obvious bottom here, and there's a very obvious higher bottom here. So our entrance anywhere in this vicinity is already in a good spot, and lots of enthusiasm. There's plenty of people that would love to see a validity pump. So I'm strapped in. I definitely have taken some profits because I've already doubled on this one, but there is I bet there's more to come. Just be careful. I don't know how thin the order books are, so just watch out for that. But anyway, I'm having a great day. I don't know who's disappointed by our slightly down day, but this is amazing. Our Bitcoin dominance is dropping, our others dominance increasing, and we have an outlook of a solid alt season continuation on our table. So pretty awesome.